This video contains major spoilers for Ori 1 and 2. I mentioned in my reviews of both Ori games how prevalent the themes of life, death, and rebirth are. The more I've let these games sit, the more I've thought about them. I've let their stories simmer, and I've grown to appreciate them more as time has gone on. They truly capture the essence of the cycle in each of our lives. I'm Ouroboros. Let's talk. One of the best comparisons I found for Ori 1 is the Firebird suite from Disney's Fantasia 2000. I don't want to anger the Disney copyright overlords, so out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to avoid using footage and music. Here's a quick rundown of what it's about. Fantasia is a movie that Disney made in, guess what year? No, seriously, you'll never be able to guess. Just try. It was released in 1999. It premiered in 1999. Okay, it was released in theaters in 2000. That's not as funny, Jeremy. Basically, they took famous pieces of music and set animation to the music instead of the usual other way around. The Firebird Suite is a collection of segments from Stravinsky's ballet, The Firebird. In it, we see the destruction of Mount St. Helens from the perspective of a forest spirit. An all-consuming fire led by the phoenix of the volcano destroys the ecosystem, only to be succeeded by a great rebirth of life. Did this little side tangent derail the point of the script? Yes. Am I a massive music nerd who's telling you to go watch Fantasia 2000? Also yes. Is this video sponsored by Disney? No. My channel's too small for that. Anyway, Ori, right, yeah. That's what this video was supposed to be about. So, Ori 1 pretty much follows the plot of the Firebird Suite to a T. Kuro messes up the forest, things die out, there's a massive fire, and it leads to a rebirth. Ori 2 takes a different spin on these themes. It's a more personal tale because the driving factor is in fact the death of Ku. While Naru died at the beginning of the game, there was no indication, at least that I remember, that she would be revived. The goal was to restore the light to Nibel, and there's also no fire this time. There's no grand redemption for the villain. There's no triumphant return home for Ori. It's a bittersweet ending, but one that also feels so intertwined with the themes that the series has built up. That's one of the things that I particularly loved about the sequel. There's so many stories, whether in movies or games or whatever, that have a happy ending purely for the sake of making the audience feel good at the end. They think that audience satisfaction supersedes narrative consonance. That's one of the reasons why I have issues with Xenoblade 2's ending, and that's why I really enjoyed Xenoblade 3's ending. The thing is, Ori 2 isn't even your stereotypical sad ending. It's not like they went all Romeo and Juliet on us. It ends exactly the same way the first game started, with a forest spirit leaving the tree. It's perfect. It's the culmination of 2 full games, and everything that Moon Studios has brought to the table. And these are the first 2 games that they've released, by the way. Side note, I actually double-checked when writing this script, and they've apparently got a game in early access right now called No Rest for the Wicked. I don't know how I never heard about this, but you can bet your ass I'm going to pick it up when it fully releases. But I digress. It's the best ending to a duology that prides itself in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And I think we can all take time to reflect on the themes of Ori. So often we focus too much on the present, on the now, that we forget what comes next. We lose the forest for the trees. you see what I did there? Because it's Ori and the blind forest. Even though one thing ends doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. When something ends, another begins. In everything, really. School, careers, relationships, life even. It's such a simple lesson to take away from these games. But at the same time, it's a very challenging thing to accept. It doesn't even have to be about death. Obviously, that's hard for so many reasons, but just accepting how to move on can be really difficult for a lot of people. But those hard goodbyes make room for so much more. If we hadn't said goodbye to Ori, the forest would have fallen into disarray, Ku would still be dead, and who knows what would have happened to Naru and Gumo. sometimes it's the biggest sacrifices that have the biggest payoff. It's even the same thing with Kuro at the end of the first game. She let go of her hatred and said goodbye to her chicks, but that let Ku live in her memory. However, she still lives on with her feather. This series doesn't shy away from death. In fact, it embraces it. It embraces it as a part of life because death comes for us all. It delivers us all equally to the same end. That end comes sooner for some than others, as it does for Ori, but that doesn't mean that less time living is less important. I'd argue that the less time you have, the more important it is to make the most of our lives. Ori made a massive impact on the people around them in spite of a shorter life, and even post-death, Ori's impact still lingers. There's a famous George Eliot quote that gets passed around, and it's, "Our dead are never dead to us until we have forgotten them." And I think that's true to an extent, but I think a better way to think about it would be, no one is truly dead until the impact they've made is forgotten. Ori as a creature is long forgotten, but Ori, the spirit tree, will endure through the ages. Maybe that's a more optimistic way of looking at death. But if you've truly lived a fulfilling life, one where you've made an impact on people, one where you've positively influenced people around you, that is your rebirth. Of course, you're still dead, but the memory of you is longer lasting. We've only got around 80 or so years on this earth. Maybe 90 if you're lucky. However, it's your memory that lives on. It's your legacy that outlives even you. That's the lesson I've learned from this series. Life is obviously precious, but it's things like the people you meet, those you teach, the children you raise, the contributions you make to society. Those are the things which measure your success, even in spite of those who think otherwise. It's not the amount of wealth or even the power you obtain. If that were the case, Shriek would be the protagonist. Of course, everybody has their own way to measure their lives. Some look to build a successful business, some want to contribute to scientific research. I used to think like that. I wanted to make an impact somehow, be remembered for doing something great, but I realized that I was unhappy and unfulfilled. I realized that my accomplishments weren't making me happy, and so I took a step back. I thought about what makes me happy in the moment, the things I enjoy, the people I surround myself with. I came to the conclusion that it's okay to just live a happy, simple life with those around me, to not worry about moving up the ladder, and instead focus on myself. In doing that, I've found the person I am and the person I want to become. And that is my rebirth. Ori's cycle of life, death, and rebirth taught that to me. And maybe it'll teach you something about yourself as well. Thanks for watching.